Hello everyone, bit of a change of scene today. I thought I'd wander down to one of the local parks near where I live. I'm currently stood on a football pitch. You can see the goalposts over there. I watched a video the other day that was done by a friend of mine, Bill Cannon. He's an ex-NYPD police sergeant and he has his own YouTube channel, Police Off the Cuff, and I've mentioned them again and again. Bill's a good man, 9/11 first responder, and the video was about the rising level of crime on the New York subway, and his co-host Michael Geary, who's a professor, a lawyer, and also, funnily enough, a retired NYPD police sergeant, was his co-host. And it was interesting because they can put their own perspective on what the problem is, what's caused the issue, and more importantly, how do you solve it? Now, that generation of police officer was very different. Same as here as well. You have a different generation of police officer and a different generation of policing. You know, when I was a kid, there's one very important rule that I learned: don't talk back to your parents. Learn to respect your elders, and all of those other things that seem a bit tacky and everything else in this day and age, but it really did mean something. You know, my basic upbringing, I was a young boy, an only child at first, although I ended up inheriting 3 sisters from somewhere. Sorry, sisters. My dad was a police officer, and had my mum as well, born in the 70s. And that generation was different. Quite hard to explain, but it was. You know, I learned very quickly that if I did something wrong or said something disrespectful or something out of place, there was a consequence. And, you know, like Isaac Newton used to say, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And when you're brought up with those kind of values, it turns you into a reasonably respectful human being. And obviously you've got the other factors as well that go on in your life, what goes on around you in your neighbourhood, where you live, who you socialise with, what their upbringing's like, and what they get you involved in. And you have to make a choice. Do you involve yourself in that as well, or do you back off and walk away? And then at the end of the day, that turns you into the adult that you are. Over in America, they have a problem with rising crime, and one of the main issues is on the subway in New York, particularly, where there's quite violent crimes going on, from robberies to gun violence, and even people pushing other people underneath subway trains. It's disgusting, and it keeps going on. Now, one of the things that is quite evident, they have a thing over there called jumping the turnstile. Now, the basic definition of jumping the turnstile is where somebody wants to use the subway, they don't pay for it. And apparently now they're seen sneaking in the exit doors as well, and getting through that way. On top of that, you don't know what they're carrying, you don't know what they've got on them, or what their intentions are when they jump the turnstile, and it causes all the problems. They've done something recently, put the National Guard in place at subway stations. The National Guard don't have any policing powers. when you see soldiers there, for want of a better word, in combat here, it's a bit intimidating and defeats the object. Back in the 80s and the 90s, the NYPD had something called broken windows, and the whole idea was that you fix the little things. So when little Johnny goes and breaks a window or steals an apple from the grocery store, he's punished, and he's made to believe, don't do that again. It worked, and it worked for a long time. The level of crime just went. And they have another thing as well called stop, question and frisk. If a police officer was led to believe that there was a suspicious behaviour going on, you could stop, question and frisk. And it pulled an awful lot of weapons off of the street. These are all things that they're not allowed to do anymore. They could actually get in trouble for doing their own job. And certain crimes as well, like robbery, no one was hurt. It's pleaded down to a misdemeanour instead of a felony, and there's a world of difference in between the two. We have the same problem here, you know. I mean, my dad, as I said, was a police officer for, well, between the army and the regular police service, 30 years. And they had a thing called the Ways and Means Act, whereby get the job done, no matter how you got it done. Simple example, kids riding round on their bicycles on the pavements. Technically not allowed, it's illegal. It's only a small example. And in the old days, when they used to have the wooden truncheons in their long pockets on their trousers, my old man used to have a spanner as well. And if he ever saw anybody doing it, he'd warn them once, and if he caught them again, the front wheel would be taken off their bike and they'd find it lost and found 48 hours later. Inconvenienced, but they wouldn't do it again. Just a simple thing. But kids, adults even, they seem to be getting away with far too much, from the little things to the large things, simply because there's no consequence anymore. And is it too late to fix it, I wonder? I mean, I've had fairly recent experience with the law, whereby some things have had to be dealt with on a personal level, and it took a very large amount of time to deal with it. And when it was dealt with, it wasn't dealt with as severely as it should have been, considering what the issues were. Does that mean that the wrong message is sent and they'll go on to do it again? You know, even on YouTube, you have channels on here like mine, and Paz, a good friend of mine, I'm hoping I get to catch up with him soon face to face, because I'm heading up his neck of the woods, where we do videos like this. We just grab a subject, give our opinion, tell you what we think. And then you have other channels that do things in the name of parody, when in fact what they're doing is defaming, slandering and generally bullying people, and they're allowed to continue. There's no consequence. And then you end up with a very expensive legal issue as a result, where there should be mechanisms in place to deal with such issues. By the way, with YouTube, unless it gets completely out of hand, it's generally best to just ignore people like that. It's not worth the aggravation and can lead you into all sorts of things. But in real life, yeah, real life, fresh air, there has to be consequences. Otherwise, those in society will never know what's right and what's wrong. You've got to start from the young. You've got to start when they can still learn. Where do you think it went wrong? What generation? Was it mine? Bear in mind I'm a 70s child, had parents born nearer wartime, grandparents who were in their youth in the war? Or was it the generation after mine? Or society in general? You tell me. It's an interesting topic to think about and talk about. Anyway, I'm going because I want my breakfast. Yes, I recorded this a short time ago. And if you want to see another one of my videos, there's one there. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Toodaloo.